It is exactly 2:07 a.m. and I have invented a new color. Or at least, I think so. Maybe you can help me figure out exactly what I did. Let me give you a little bit of backstory, because I promise that I'm not kidding. This is not like a joke video or a super procrastinated April Fool's joke. I legitimately feel like I kind of did something that I think is really interesting and cool. So, let me give you a bit of backstory. Back in March or April of 2025, scientists came out with this huge discovery. They had discovered a new color. They named it OLO after 010, or after 010. I don't know how mirroring on a camera works. But they named it this because they had managed to isolate via a highly sophisticated laser technology the color that exists when your eyes are only using their green cones. See, you have red, blue, and green cones in your eyes. That's how you see color, just like the additive color system with light. Scientists managed to isolate only the green cones, because usually when you're seeing even a super pure green like this, your eyes are still absorbing a bunch of color overlap, and so you're not really seeing the world's like purest green. So in a way, this color OLO was supposed to be the world's purest version of what you see with only your green cones in your eyes. And I was thinking about that the other day and I realized they called it OLO because green cones in your eyes are the medium cones. So if it goes short, medium, long, and they're stimulating 0 of the short cones and 0 of the long cones, it's going 0, 1 for the medium cones, 0. Therefore, OLO. I was thinking about this the other day. I realized that if there's an OLO, there's an opposite OLO. An anti-OLO, if you will. An LOL.
Oh, brother!
And what is the opposite of green on the color spectrum? Well, it's magenta. So I figured out that if I know and I have an approximation of OLO, which, you know, I did in this video, which is super cool if you want to see a color that previously only 5 people in the world had ever seen, you can click on that here. But anyway, I had an approximation of OLO, so I said, if I have an approximation of OLO, I can make an approximation using that OLO of its antithesis. The world's most magenta. Did I already say that? It's now 2:11 in the morning. I don't know. Rather than taking a color of light that already exists and making it into its most pure form, this color is entirely an illusion. Because if you didn't know this before, the color magenta does not exist at all. I'm about to explain that in a second, but first, a super quick sponsor. Let's be honest here, making doctor's appointments sucks. You put an alarm on your phone to call the doctor's office at 4 p.m. because they close at 5 p.m. and you want to make sure to call so that you can get in. But then that alarm goes off, you're in the middle of an important task, so you snooze it a couple times, and then suddenly it's 5:03 p.m. and it's too late to call today, so you just figure you'll put it off for tomorrow. And then suddenly 3 months go by and it's May, and you were supposed to make this appointment in February. So you finally call and you're put on hold for 25 minutes, and then when they pick up the phone, it's some random AI receptionist. So you have to just keep going, talk to someone else, talk to a real person. And you finally get through to a real receptionist, only to realize that the doctor that you've been painstakingly researching doesn't even take your insurance anyway, so you're forced to repeat the entire process all over again. This, my friends, is where Zocdoc comes in. Instead of procrastinating because you don't really feel like talking on the phone today, you can just open Zocdoc and find a doctor that actually works for you. You can search and compare local doctors who take your insurance, read real patient reviews, and see availability instantly. And then when you do find a doctor, all you need to do to make an appointment is click a couple of things and book. And the best part is that appointments usually happen within 24 to 72 hours. Sometimes even on the same day, if you want that. So if you've been putting it off like I have, don't. Your health matters, and Zocdoc makes it way easier to take care of it. So if you want to try out Zocdoc today, go to zocdoc.com/brushwithbecca so you can finally check that appointment off of your to-do list. And now, back to how magenta is not a real color. If you know anything about the way light works and the way that colors work, colors are wavelengths of light, and each wavelength corresponds to a different color. But there are some colors that actually technically do not exist. These are called non-spectral colors because they don't have a wavelength of their own. These are colors like purple, pink, brown, white, and shades of gray, and how they exist is they are made when multiple kinds of light intersect over each other, creating a weird phenomenon that our brain just kind of fills in the gap. In the case of pinks, purples, and magentas, this is when blue and red light overlap. Our brain fills that space with magenta light, even though magenta doesn't have its own wavelength. So if Olo is made by stimulating the medium cones in your eyes, what we should see when we stimulate only the long and the short cones, we should hypothetically see the world's purest magenta that exists. But here's the thing, I don't have Oz. That's what they called the really sophisticated laser technology that they used to make Olo. So instead, we're gonna do the poor man's Oz, which is something that is called retinal fatigue. See, the way that your eyes work, if you missed this in the Olo video, if you see a really, really saturated color, the receptors in your eyes that pick up that color can get really, really tired, which means that they kind of stop working in the same way, which then when you switch to seeing a different color that doesn't use those receptors, or not much, it's kind of like they aren't being used as much and the other ones go into hyperdrive to try and like compensate. Anyway, it makes more sense when I explain it in depth in my Olo video. Also, if you want to see other videos about interesting colors that technically don't exist and you want to see those colors, then I have another video right here. Is it here? It's so late at night, I'm dying. So essentially, we're gonna kind of very temporarily zap one of the color receptors in your eyes, just the green cone, so that we can make the short and the long cones go into hyperdrive. So that we can see a completely new color that hypothetically the world has never seen before. The world's purest magenta, aka LOL. I don't know, help me come up with a better name for it. And so all we need to do this, it's very similar to how we simulated Olo, is that we stare very, very intensely at Olo. Because if that is the closest approximation that we can get to what the isolated green cone sees, then the direct antithesis of that should be lol. Make sense? Here's what I want you to do. I just want you to stare at the dot on the center of the screen. It should be about like 30 to 45 seconds. You're going to stare at this dot. There's going to be cute little music. It's going to be a fun time. Try your best to do this in a dark room, fairly close to a screen, and if not, it is what it is. After you stare for a certain amount of time, the screen will briefly switch to a different colored slide. It's going to start as an Olo slide, and then it's going to switch to a magenta slide. If this works the way that it has for me and a couple of the guinea pigs that I've tested this out on, not literal guinea pigs, human guinea pigs, naturally. I don't think guinea pigs could see this color, to be honest. I'll put that information here. You should see a brief, super quick flash. I'm talking like 0.2 seconds of the most vivid magenta color you have ever seen in your entire life. More vivid than any magenta that actually exists in the visible color spectrum. Okay, let's see if we can test that out. So, did it work? It did for me. I'm hoping it did for you. And if it did for you, what did you think? Did you enjoy seeing this new color? Do you feel like it counts? Is it the antithesis of Olo? Or nah? Either way, I do think it's really interesting because I don't think this is a color that can usually be seen in the visual color spectrum. Oh, I forgot I have a Coke. It's so late at night. I've had so much caffeine today. I'm sure you can't tell at all. I find color experiments like this extremely fun because I feel like there is so much potential for figuring out more about the science of how we see. I was puzzling over this all week. I was thinking to myself, if Olo is what we see when we isolate only the green cones, but Olo is kind of an extremely enhanced, vivid teal color, should we be calling that like our teal cone? Probably not, but isn't that just a weird concept? I chose magenta specifically because when you stare at this ridiculously vivid color, you get a ghost color that shows up almost immediately. And you would expect that it would be something very similar to a hypersaturated red, because as far as we know, in terms of light in the visible color spectrum, that would be the exact opposite of cyan as far as like light goes. But it is not. It's very clearly not. It's very clearly a super bright magenta, which is why I decided to do it like that. Anyway, what a crazy time. I really hope that scientists continue to keep isolating these different lengths of cones because I think it has huge implications for people who have different kinds of, say, color blindness and also like how we see the world in general. I just think it's so interesting. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video and playing along with my loosely scientific shenanigans. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and let me know in the comments what color we should experiment with next. Thank you so much to my patrons, and thank you so much to Zocdoc for sponsoring this video. I'm gonna go to bed and try and take care of my health, and you should too. Don't die, and I will see you next time. Bye!